Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel for Live and Love Yoga and Wellness, a yoga and wellness business that I run in Southern New Jersey. On this channel, I'm going to talk about just topics that I think are important to healing. I'm going to give you guys some tips and information about stuff that has to do with meditation, yoga, energy work. I'm also going to have announcements for things that I am doing, working on, people that I'm collaborating with, and then hopefully going to have some pretty cool people come in and have some discussions about some cool stuff as well. So today I wanted to jump on here and just started to talk about black and white thinking in terms of spirituality, healing, a healing process, toxic positivity, and how we use that to spiritually circumvent a process of healing. And sometimes set ourselves back, or just not really set ourselves back, but set ourselves up to possibly have to learn the same lessons over and over again, because we're not really reaching the depth of what we're looking at as we're experiencing it, because we're kind of skipping the line, so to say. So I think that there's this belief, or I think it's like a perception that we gain about holistic healing, because we're on Instagram and we're on Facebook and social media looking at all of these beautiful people doing these yoga poses that are fit and their bodies are in shape and their faces look blissful and they look zen and peaceful. And we're always on here talking about the peace that it brings and all the stuff, that we can access through meditation and yoga and energy work and therapeutic work and healing our mind, body, and spirit. But what I'm here to talk about is the pain that goes along with that, the very real and raw pain and discomfort that in order to actually achieve a deep level of healing, we must learn to sit through, that we must learn to experience in its fullness, that we must learn to actually feel in order to heal. I think that we all want to just jump to that healed version of ourselves that feels better, but it doesn't work that way. And when we try and do that, sometimes we miss the lesson, and then we wonder why we're replaying the same cycles in our lives. So I'm here to open up some space for the discussion about toxic positivity and spiritual circumventing while going through a very painful, traumatic process or time in your life. I'm here to give you permission to feel the fullness of all of those feelings, because what's happening is so we use the word triggered, right? And it's a buzzword right now, and it has a few different meanings, at least in my opinion. But so there's definitely triggered in regards to PTSD or CPTSD and reliving traumas within the mind and the body, right? There's also things that the universe sends to us to kind of trigger an effect in our lives, right? So as soon as we start our process into life, we are experiencing the outside world. That comes with all types of sensations. Not all of us were born into necessarily healthy families or healthy family systems, or even what today would be more categorized as healthy communication patterns and styles, emotional regulation and emotional intelligence, that if we were to compare to like the 90s, we'd be like, oh my God. I mean, I think most of us are feeling the effects of that, right? So there's just our conditioning. There's what we were raised in that's being re-triggered in us when we experience something, a sensation in the outside world. But there's also the stuff that we carry from our karmic life cycles and from lineage from our family systems, just from their trauma. So there's evidence, there's scientific evidence that proves that trauma is held in the body on a cellular biological level. So what that means is there's always these cases, and there's even studies that have been done. There's studies that have been done with twins that have proven this. There's other studies that have been done that you can look up that talk about, let's say, for instance, and I'm just going to say this as an example, trigger warning, and I'm not trying to trigger anyone by bringing up specific topics, but I like to use these as examples because it really proves some of the rawness of what we can experience, not only biologically, but energetically. And what I believe, as someone that's an energy practitioner, ends up causing dis-ease in the body, what we like to call disease, right? It's what turns into disease in the body. But let's say a woman experiences a sexual assault and shows those physical and emotional symptoms in the body, then conceives a child 10 to 12 years later, not having really dealt with a lot of the stuff, and really it's so many layers to dealing with that. It takes a really long time. But her child can show emotional and physical symptoms of the trauma in their body, never having had experienced that, right? So when things are being triggered in you, the reason why it's important to not try and jump to the silver lining and move out of those feelings so quickly, which is all we're all really trying to do. We want to distract ourselves from all the negative things that don't feel amazing, all of the things that aren't like rainbows and butterflies in the healing process, or just in life in general. We want to run away from them instead of sit with them, because they're our greatest teachers. And we ignore them so deeply because of the sensations that they cause, because of the things that they bring up, because we just don't have time to experience that right now, because it's not pleasurable. We run away from it and we seek pleasure in things that are generally probably not only a lot less healthy, but not at all impactful to our spiritual growth and the lessons that the universe is trying to bestow upon us. So that's why I think it's really important in a healing process to sit with that pain. And what that means is you really end up, especially in a mourning process, when we've gone through a loss in our life, whether that be someone has physically left this earth, they've dropped their body and they're in the spirit world, and that has left us with some wounds that have been exposed, or sometimes we're mourning the loss of a relationship that brought up a lot of things about our childhood, or just we're mourning the loss of the relationship itself. Maybe it was even an amazing relationship, and for whatever reason, it just can't last. Sometimes people have to move across the country for whatever reason, and things change. And a lot of times we want to find ways to jump into the silver lining and the positivity, but never really sit with that wounded part of ourselves and allow those feelings to occur, to cycle through the system, because it's ugly. It's ugly. It's painful. It's the days that you can't get out of bed. It's the days that you're ignoring all your friends and not answering the phone. It's the days that you're being a bitch to people that you don't want to be a bitch to because you can't even stand, what's going on internally. And it's not, instead of, trying to find the next best thing to distract us from those feelings, cover up those feelings, or even justify those feelings. Like, I think that when I talk about toxic positivity, we want to find the reason and the silver lining and the positive reason to all of it. And in its truest form, nothing is neither positive or negative. It just is in universal thought, right? But the energy that the body ends up getting trapped in is the way that the nervous system is perceiving it, right? So when we perceive something as disruptive to or when it just is disruptive to our nervous system and we don't work through those feelings, we end up burying them in our system, causing dis-ease in the body, and then later, experiencing depressions, anxiety, health issues, nervous system dysregulations, also leading to autoimmune diseases, in my opinion, cancers, in my opinion. I think a lot of us healers and spiritualists are talking about how trapped energy, keeping that in the body can cause a lot of issues. And that's a lot of our belief system out there. So what I'm here to tell you is that it's okay to feel your feelings. It's okay to be a mess. You don't have to have it all figured out. I don't think that right when you experience a trauma is the time to be looking for the light at the end of the tunnel. I think that when you experience a trauma in your life, it's time to, for a time period, live in the pain of that trauma. It's going to bring up past traumas, past pains that have been stored not only by you, by your nervous system, consciously and subconsciously, but lineage pain and trauma from this lifetime and the next. And when we run to what's going to make us feel better, and when we sensationalize positive feelings over negative feelings, and when we sensationalize that thought process, I think that we really leave out an entire part of the healing process. I think that we are not giving people the information that they need in order to heal, which is making them feel like there's something wrong with them because they can't just jump into feeling better right away. Like when they go through a major loss in their life and face major anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, nervous system regulation symptoms, literal brain damage due to these things. And we want to force people to look at the brighter side. I mean, everything happens for a reason, and it does. But when we push ourselves into that feeling, we're skipping over a bunch of feelings that the universe is actually trying to get us to notice, because the universe is using these things to get us to stop abandoning ourselves, to stop running from ourselves, to slow down and feel the pain. Because just like the physical body, when you put your hand on the stove, it's hot. It's a warning system that something is wrong, that you need to pay attention, that there needs to be an attendance to that part of the physical world, of the physical body. And it's the same thing with emotional and energetic pain and blocks. Generally, the thing that you want to look at the least is probably the thing that you need to look at the most. And when we're so focused on trying to find the positive meaning to all the pain in our lives, we're not focused on what the pain is trying to teach us. So I don't know. I'm just here to like open up some space to let you know that it's healthy to feel your feelings. It's healthy to be a mess at times. It's healthy to, when a tower moment happens in your life and you face a traumatic event that you don't actually know how to respond, that you have to step back and refocus and dive deeper and really take time to discover like what all of that pain is linked to, you know? And I think that when we sit with ourselves and we sit with our pain long enough, we can actually start to achieve deep and lasting healing. And the reason why people don't want to do that is because it takes a really long time. Because you will have to sit through days and nights of immense loneliness, pain, physically, even physical anguish, to not distract yourself from that. That pain of that grief or whatever it is that you're going through, fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, you know, all of the things that come up when we start to go through these things can be masked by toxic positivity. Oh, he left your life, or you're better off, or oh, they're in a better place now, or oh, you know, it made you stronger. I mean, that's why I say there's a gray area, because those things are true too. But two things can be true at once. People can leave your life for a reason, and it can be a very good reason, and it can still be one of the most painful things you've ever experienced. And it could be one of the most healing things you've ever experienced. And it can teach you more about yourself than you've ever learned if you allow it, right? If you allow yourself to sit in the discomfort of the negativity, of the lower vibrational feelings and sensations, right? If we don't use all of these things to try and run away from ourselves, but we use healing, yoga, energy work, meditation, breath work to actually become one with ourselves in the form that we're in that moment. So people struggle with meditation because they can't stop their thoughts, or they can't stop the intrusive thoughts, or they didn't all of a sudden jump into bliss after sitting there for 5 minutes, you know, maybe once or a couple of times. And that's because the point is that you're still trying to run from yourself in those moments. And the universe is just trying to get there, to get you to be there with yourself, to be a witness to the unfolding of your life with less reactivity, right? But we can't get there if we don't ever allow ourselves to feel what's actually going on, because I promise you that energetically, emotionally, and mentally, nothing can be numbed. Nothing can be stored away. There is no rug that you can sweep it under. It will eventually rear its ugly head in one way, shape, or form. It'll show up in your relationships. It'll show up in the disruptions in your body. It'll show up 20 years down the road when life feels and looks a lot different than you ever imagined it to be. So I'm not saying that, you should sit here and sit in your shit and wallow in the trauma of the things that happened. But what I am saying is that you should allow yourself the space to be in a process of safely feeling those things and processing them out of the system in a mind, body, and spirit way. And that's not by pretending that they didn't happen. And that's not by justifying, the reasons for them. And that's not by overlooking the trauma and immense amount of pain that it's caused in your life. It's by feeling all of it. All of it until you've felt every single feeling. And then once that occurs, then you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then it's real. And then it's lasting. Because then you step into that higher vibration, that higher wisdom, because you took that time and there's that appreciation, which means that the lessons get integrated into the system on a level that you can carry it with you so that you don't go back into your autopilot trained brain that was conditioned from unhealthy patterns from childhood and past life that we're all sitting here trying to work through. So I don't know. I hope that maybe some of that helped. I don't know. I just felt like I've wanted to talk about that. I've wanted to open up that space for people to come in and be able to feel the fullness of their experience in order to heal it. And, if you have anything to share, go ahead and comment, subscribe to the channel. I have future announcements coming up. You can go to my Live in Love Yoga and Wellness Facebook page or Instagram, which I will find a way to link onto here. Or you can ask me for it and I'll send you the link. And that's going to also link you to things that I'm hosting, featuring, services that I offer, locations that I work through, and people that I collaborate with. If you have any questions, let me know. I really hope that you have an amazing sunny Sunday afternoon. Namaste.